Good morning and welcome to another pre-market review session with the Market Trader. My name's Ray, the Market Trader. And before we get started, just to kind of remind everyone to hit the like, hit the subscribe if the analysis is indeed supporting your trading. Without further ado, let's move ahead and take a look at the risk disclosure and move on and see what kind of context we can pull from the markets here. Okay. So before we can do that, let's review our risk disclosure briefly and just kind of remind everyone that the content that's being distributed by the market trader is to be treated as general information only. None of the information provided or contained herein is intended as investment advice or an offer to buy, sell, recommend, endorse, sponsor any security, company, or fund. Okay. Use of this information contained herein is to be used at your own risk. No responsibility or liability for any use or misuse of this information. We all understand that future trading does carry a fair amount of risk. It's not for every investor. Only risk capital should be used when we engage in the markets. And we also need to have sufficient risk capital to consider trading. Okay. And again, nothing contained herein is a solicitation or an offer to buy, sell, recommend, endorse any future option or forex, and past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right. So now that we have an idea of the risk involved in trading, let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the news portal here and see what we have in the way of news that could potentially impact the markets here. Okay. So we just had, I guess, a press conference, closed press conference appears about President Trump. We had some fairly important news that just got published here. We have initial jobless claims, which came in a couple thousand better than what was projected. U.S. unit labor costs came in positive. U.S. productivity came in positive. U.S. import prices slightly negative month over month, and continued jobless claims was consistent higher. Okay. So that actually came in a bit negative. Okay. Looking at the remainder of the day, well, we have a number of members speaking here. So that obviously anytime we have our president has the potential of moving the markets here. So anyway, the good news is that most of the bigger news has already been published into the market. Okay. Taking a look ahead here for tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is going to be another news heavy day here. We have non-farm payroll, we have unemployment rate, all coming in tomorrow. We have core retail sales. These are all kind of news items that could be quite impactful in the market here. Okay, so now that we have kind of a feel for the news here, and we'll go ahead and see what kind of context we can pull from the markets here. We're going to go ahead and open up our charting platform and start off with the gold market here. Gold market looks like had a little bit of a sell-off here at during London, but we'll take a look here. Starting off with the daily chart and kind of work our way through to the 30-minute. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and kind of remove some of these drawings. We'll start off with the daily chart. Okay. And again, we have again indications here. Let's turn this off here for a moment. Oh, that's not it. Okay, just kind of doing a little bit of analysis here and higher time frame analysis. Any case, right now you can see that the market remains in some sort of consolidation pattern here, some sort of range in this time frame. Okay, so nice little triangle pattern that's developing in this market. We seem to continue to respect the lower end of this trend line that we have here as part of the larger triangle pattern that I've drawn here. Okay. And again, we have we opened slightly higher, okay, on the day, and now we're kind of challenging the lows of or challenging the close or the lows of yesterday's trading. Okay, so again, daily chart kind of giving us an indication that the market is in some sort of range on the higher time frame. Not really giving us any indication if there's a good amount of strength. Maybe we could say on the daily chart that we are at least in the leg in a bearish leg of a larger consolidation pattern. Okay, taking a look at the 4-hour chart. Looking at the 4-hour chart, kind of zooming in on these daily candles here. We're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance range here for a moment. Maybe open up our visible range volume profile here if I can. Visible range volume profile looks like has kind of disappeared. Let's see if we can add that back in. Okay, visible range volume profile. We'll move that to the right. We'll kind of adjust that one a little bit here. Just kind of neutralize. We just want to know where the value area is and where the so value area we'll make in yellow. Okay, and then yeah, this is not what the value area in yellow, and then the out of value area in gray. Okay, that's kind of how I customize my value. Okay, so you can see here that price is inside this, I would say in the balance area, right? We're inside the value area on the 4-hour. Okay, so kind of indicating that there is some kind of balance, kind of price action going on right now. Again, maybe a tad on the bearish side, and that's also in alignment with what we're seeing on the DMI, right? We're seeing a little bit more pressure coming in on the sell side than the buy side at the moment, right? And our ADX is up in the 30 range. So a little bit of momentum coming in on the bearish side, and you can see that we're kind of booking lower lows and lower highs. Now we obviously have not booked a lower low as of yet, and we're maybe seeing a little bit of support here at the lower end of this swing here. Okay, but nonetheless, it appears that we are still, I would say, in some bearish structure here, at least on this swing here. This little pullback does appear to be more in the way of a retracement, right? Seems to be more corrective than impulsive to me. Okay, so since it's more corrective than impulsive, then the feeling is that maybe there is an opportunity for the market maybe to continue to the downside. Now, again, with that said, I am seeing that there is a little bit of a buying wick here up at the lows here, right? So that could provide us maybe a little area. We'll take a look at this when we look at the 30-minute, but we are seeing maybe a little bit of a support zone that's being established here, okay, right around the, 5,100 level, okay? Assuming that holds, that maybe we'll build the case again for this kind of range price action to continue, and maybe we rotate back to some of these highs here, okay? So it'll be interesting to see over the course of the next hour or so for this 4-hour candle. Once we get a confirmation as to the type of candle, does it close below this area of support and maybe start to begin to challenge some of these lower levels and challenge the 5,000 level, okay? Or does it hold here and maybe begin a rotation back to the highs, okay? So let's go ahead now and take a look at the 30-minute chart. 30-minute chart, we're kind of zoom in on these candles here. So there's that little correcting pattern that I was sharing with you, right? This seems to be a little bit in the way of corrective, right? So sideways action. We see a large spike here on the maybe related to the news event, right? Related to some of the news that we received. We see a large spike in the negative DI, and we see that the ADX is also sloping in the same direction. So with that news, right, we got a little bit of some selling pressure in this market. All right, take a look at the fixed range volume profile and comparing it to where price is currently. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up yesterday's session here from a volume profile perspective here and see, okay, where we're at in relation to yesterday's price action. And you can see that we're right inside the value range. Okay, we're inside the value range from yesterday. Okay, indicating that we are in somewhat of consolidation, an area of balance here. Now we've come into an area of some support here on the left-hand side that could provide us maybe an area for price to maybe rally away from. Okay, right? This came down, maybe came into an area where maybe we attracted some buyers, and that could cause price to maybe return to the upside. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn on our 9 EMA. 9 EMA is still price is still below our 9 EMA and also below our VWAP. Okay, so that kind of give me the indication that we're still in some bearish structure, but assuming that we can get maybe above those levels, that maybe could spur maybe a little bit of a rally. Otherwise, if we stay below those levels, that would again be an indication that maybe there's some further downside in this market. Okay, taking a look at the initial balance range across the various sessions, it appears that looks like Asia was initially actually created a little bit of a failed auction here. Okay, so you can see, right, we got a push to the upside, only to see the market turn around and rotate back in the other direction. We managed to extend the lower end of the initial balance range, and we got to the 200% extension of the original range. Came back, retest the highs again, and then looks like London was able to drive price lower. So I would say there's a fair amount of I guess bearish kind of price action that's currently underway in these markets. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of confirm New York here. Okay, not New York, but London. I think I actually selected New York when I should have selected London. Here we go. Sorry, guys. London. There it is. Okay. So you can see here we start off in range. And then as a result of the news event, that caused the market to kind of take a swing to the downside. And now, we seem to have found maybe some buyers here who are interested at these levels at 5,100. And now we're hovering just under the close, or actually just inside the candle here that was established as a result of the news. Okay. So I would say that this candle is relatively important. I'm going to maybe draw this line here, maybe a set of lines here around this candle of news, because that gave you an indication of where the buyers are. Okay. So right now I saw an indication based on the news event, right? Where are the buyers resting? Well, the buyers seem to be resting around 50.85. Okay. There's interest to the buy side in that area. So should price come back to this area, the expectation is that would cause buyers to again step in. So this is a buy zone. They tip their hand. They let us know where they're at. Okay. So 50.85, 5,100 seems to be an area of support here. Okay. So headed into the session, again, you can see that the market has been in some sort of range. I'm going to give it a kind of a neutral rating to start. Was that neutral to I'm going to say neutral for now. I'm going to wait for neutral to bearish. I think is kind of my view here based on this bearish candle. It'll be interesting to see if we do indeed are able to hold below this initial balance range at 51.46. If we are able to hold below 51.46, that could lead to maybe another retest of the lows here to see I guess measure the conviction of these sellers, and if they are indeed able to hold price up. If not, then maybe there is maybe some more downside price action that we see today in today's session. So I'm going to go with a neutral to bearish kind of rating on the gold. Okay, kind of interesting to see if price is able to remain below 51.45. Maybe as high as 51.63. Okay, I would say this area right around here is probably an area, if I was a seller, that would be kind of an area of interest here. Okay, right around this area between the zone there. Okay, that would be my sell zone. Buy zones I've already kind of established. I think we're around the 5,100, 50.85 seems to be kind of an area of support. And then if this is going to continue lower, I would expect that 51.60, 51.50 or probably be an area where we maybe see sellers again step back into this market. Okay, so again, headed into the session, I would say more of a neutral to bearish kind of rating. Okay, taking a look at the silver market, looking at silver, starting off with the daily chart. Again, similar to what we saw in the gold market, it does appear to be a market that is in some sort of range, not getting quite the sort of the consolidation pattern that I saw here. I've only gotten one candle on the upside here. I got multiple tests on the low end, right? Multiple tests on the low end, and so far it's been somewhat supportive. But we still are working through that candle that we received. Have not been able to make too many progress into this candle here. Okay, without sellers stepping in. Okay, the moment we start to feel like maybe it's going to recover some of the losses that we had at end of January, sellers step back into the market. So just taking a look at the more recent set of candles, I would say that it appears that we are in some sort of bearish structure here at the moment. Okay, some bearish structure here at the moment inside an area of balance. Okay, taking a look at the 4-hour chart. Looking at the 4-hour, again, more of the same. Just more candles here, right? We're zooming in on these daily candles, and again, seeing the same kind of structure that I had mentioned in the gold, right? So this kind of structure seems a bit corrective here. So maybe there's a leg that we make here, and then maybe we make a move like this. Okay, it's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. Okay, because this does not seem to be an impulsive move. This seems to be somewhat of a corrective move that for a larger move to the downside. Okay, well, where could price go? Well, I see 72.50 here. Okay, 72.50 seems like a potential destination for this current price structure that we're seeing in the market right now. Okay, right here, 72.50. Okay, it seems to be the logical thing. Now, could we get another leg up before we head lower? Absolutely. Okay, I think there's a possibility that we could maybe reach and retest the belly of this area here around 86.85 before we start to see price maybe continue lower in the silver market. Looking at the DMI is still saying that we still have a fair amount of pressure in this market to the downside. Our ADX is giving us a reading of 40. So again, the ADX seems to be aligned with the selling pressure, okay, to the downside. So 4-hour still indicating to me of bearish, okay. Take a look at the 30-minute. Okay, there's our corrective pattern that we had drawn there on the 4-hour chart. Let's see if I can actually take control of this little arrow here. Okay, so we're at the lower end of value. Okay, again, have gotten some reaction here around 81.80. Okay, as a result of the news, we seem to have found some buyers there interested. Right, 81.80, 81.90. Price is currently inside that candle that was generated by the news. You can see here that we have a spike in the selling pressure. Okay, the pretty good spike in selling pressure, and we also got a momentum also aligned with the general direction. So again, a fair amount of selling pressure in this market. Okay, right at this moment in time. Taking a look at the fixed range volume profile and kind of comparing yesterday's price action with today, where price is currently. Okay, so taking a look here, you can see that price is inside value, right? So it's inside some area, it's in range. So there's, I guess, temporary price agreement underway in the silver, right? So if we are going to focus in on a session, again, you can see how these extremes are offering us opportunities here, right? So price got to an extreme level of value and found buyers. Okay, price got to an extreme area of value on the upper side, on the upper end, and we found some sellers. So in these types of markets, when we are inside these kinds of ranges, we need to continue to focus our attention on extremes of pricing. Okay, we need to stay away from these consolidation ranges, these areas where there's high volume. We need to focus our attention on areas where there's little volume, areas like 81, and 85, right? Those are the areas that we want to be a part of. Okay. Let's take a look now at the fixed range volume, not fixed range, but initial balance. Okay. And let's see where price, we'll start off with the Asia session and see where price, what they were able to do with the market here. Okay. So similar to what we saw in the gold market, they initially were able to take the market higher only to find sellers. We got to the 200% extension. And then as we got closer to London, we saw some sellers stepping into this market. As a result of that, sellers move. Okay, I have some, I guess, recent footprints on where sellers are sitting at the moment. Okay, so right around this 85 level seems to be an area for where sellers are present. We've tested this area not just once, twice, a third time, a fourth time, and finally sellers got what got the participants necessary to drive price to the downside. Okay, so where am I seeing some evidence of buying? Well, similar area on the buy side, I would say down in this area right around 81. Okay, this area down below we haven't been able to get too far in before before buyers stepped in. Okay, so we got 81 450, maybe as low as 80 or 80 70. That's kind of an area where we could expect to see some buyers. Right, we have evidence of that on the market. Now, where is price now? Well, price is inside the lower end of that range. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, just going to confirm here London here real quick before we make my final kind of determination on sentiment here. So again, London also appears to be testing the lows. Okay, and let's go ahead and kind of cool this down here a little bit. So with that news event, we did manage to close below the initial balance range. We were hovering above the initial balance range. Probably the expectation is maybe the market was going to make another leg higher. Was not to be. Okay, news came in. News was received in an adverse way, and the market participants drove price to the downside. Okay, now we're hovering at the low end of the initial balance range. So this would be a logical area if we are going to continue to maybe the 82.93, maybe as high as this VWAP, or say around 83 could offer us maybe a location. The problem with this is that we don't have a sloping VWAP. We have a VWAP that is rather flat, and because we have a VWAP that's rather flat, that's an indication that we are in some sort of range kind of price action. And when we are in some sort of range price action, we can't really use the VWAP until it begins to slope in one direction, either to the upside or to the downside. So right now, I would have to give, again, similar to the gold market, I'm going to give a neutral to bearish kind of rating here in the silver as well. Okay. Now, I do understand that I am in an area where I've seen some interest on the buy side. The question is, do they have the participants to drive price and manage to get above this 84.50 level? If not, anywhere inside this candle, 50% of the range is probably a good logical location to resume this move to the downside. I would say 83.50 would be that zone. 83.50 would be a logical area to assume that maybe that we might see some sellers to continue to drive price lower in the silver market. Okay, may not even make it there. Okay, so 83.50 is kind of my line in the sand. If it does manage to stay below that level, then I would say that there's a reasonable chance that we could maybe extend lower in the silver market. All right, so I'm going to go with a neutral to bearish kind of rating in the silver. All right, moving on to the crude oil market. Taking a look at crude oil, we're going to go ahead and start off with the daily chart here. And again, here we are up at the highs. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove some of our drawings. We got another little gap open here. We got a gap open here, another gap open here. So, guys, there's a lot of bullish pressure right now in the crude oil market. As long as we continue to have some unrest in the Middle East, as long as participants and institutions and Institutional buyers fear that there may be some concern about the supply of oil in the future. I think that's going to work well for crude oil to continue to the upside. So daily, I would say we've kind of are moving pretty briskly to the upside. Okay, we closed Friday at 66, and now we're up 10 points. Okay, over 11 points in this $11 in this. Now we're trading up at the 77 level. Okay, so I would say strong bullish indications here at the moment in the crude oil market. 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart, we'll be again kind of zooming in on these candles. We're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance range here for a moment and take a look and see what that's telling us. Again, we're beginning to staircase our way to the upside, right? Holding some of our moving averages that we care about right. So now we're above all the moving averages here, right? We're above the 200, we're above the 100, a 50, 20, 9, and also our VWAP. Okay, so everything is kind of indicating that there is a fair amount of interest here to the upside. Now, if I adjust my volume profile, right, I just want to show you something, right? We have a lot of volume here. Okay, as I reduce the impact of that, you start to see that our high volume node is starting to drift higher, right? You see the shift that was made. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that there is a level of acceptance, of higher pricing in the crude oil. Okay, that's a level of acceptance. The more volume, and we're probably not reaching the same volume that we have had here, but if I draw, let's go ahead and I'm just kind of curious now. Okay, I'm just gonna draw a vertical line on the volume here. Okay, just to see how far it went here to the left, and see if the current volume is actually matched that level. Not quite. Okay. Okay. So in any case, the idea here is that there is volume coming into the market, and it's coming into the market in the bullish direction. So indicating that there is some support behind this move that we're getting in the crude oil at the moment. All right. Taking a look at the 30-minute chart, we're going to go ahead and compare. We're going to go ahead and compare price with so we're going to compare price here. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and open up the fixed range volume profile, and we're going to go ahead and open up yesterday's session here. Okay, yesterday's session was right about there, and then we're going to go ahead and drag that across here to about that area there. So you can see, right, that there is a good amount of support here above the area of value that was established. Notice again, this happens time and time again, how we a level that has been left often gets retested. Look at how price, once it left the range, came back and retested the same range. So that's a reason why we mark these levels as areas of interest, right? Because this is where participants that move markets often add to their positions. So we had a nice push to the upside. We had price in during the overnight London session come back, revisit the same area that it left, found the same level of participants, and now we are in another leg here to the upside. Okay, taking a look at the initial balance, we're going to go ahead and compare the initial balance ranges here across the various markets here, assuming I can find it. Here we go. There's let's see, we're going to go ahead and open up Asia. Looks like Asia might have been a bit bullish on the crude. Sure enough, it was, right? We got a nice little leg to the upside. Really didn't give us much of an opportunity to participate in this market. But had you been present and available, this level here around the 75, 76 level offered a nice little leg to the upside until we found some resistance at around 77.80. Okay, so 77.80 does appear to be a location of some sort of resistance in price. Okay. And then on the downside, right, we have some areas here, some indication that around 74.80 is an interest. 75 is another area. I'm just going to mark it in orange here. Actually, let's go ahead and mark it in green here. Okay, so this area around here does appear to be some sort of area of some support. So we have 77.80 to the upside, 75 to the downside. So again, we are kind of coming back to this area. We did make a full turn all the way down to 75, and looks like we're getting a little bit of two-sided kind of trading going on at the moment. So we had Asia take it higher. London eventually, I think, got the memo, and also appears to have taken this market, well, not quite higher yet. Did not get the memo. They took price lower, kind of got to an extension level. Now we're back inside some area of balance. So Asia bullish, I would say right now. London a bit on the neutral side since we made it back inside the initial balance range. We're seeing a lot in the way of wicks on both sides of these candles, but it does appear that maybe the market wants to maybe potentially revisit some of these highs. If it's unable to, and if it doesn't get the participation that it needs, then this area could offer us maybe a location for maybe a continuation of this move that we've had here. Okay, looking at the DMI is really not giving us any indication as to which direction it is dominant at this point. We have both the positive and the negative kind of overlapping, kind of telling us that the market is in somewhat neutral state here. But the volume, okay, now I'm kind of seeing a little bit of divergence here, although it's developing a bearish candle. This kind of volume should be generating a much more in the way of a bearish candle, and it's not. So what is this? What is that telling us? It's telling us that maybe some of the sellers are being absorbed by buyers. Okay, that's kind of what it's telling me. We booked two bearish type of volume, and what we in one case we were straight out bullish on that volume, and now we even have a stronger bearish candle, and we barely are able to get a red candle, a bearish candle body. So that's giving me some indication that the sellers are being absorbed here. Okay, that the sellers don't have enough volume to continue to drive price lower. And if they don't have enough volume to drive price lower, well, what's the market going to do? It's going to head higher. Okay, really add some pain to those sellers here. So I'm seeing a little bit of divergence here in the market at the moment. Okay, so headed into the session here, I would say I'm going to give a little bit of a bullish read here on the crude oil. I'm seeing this kind of divergence. It's kind of interesting that the market is seeing so many selling, but it's not translating into price here at the moment. All right, so we'll go with a bullish reading on the crude oil. All right, so before we move on to the equity markets, guys, I'm seeing a little bit of a delta between our participants and our like indicator. So I'm going to encourage people, if you are benefiting from this analysis and enjoy the analysis, that you hit the like button. I scared a couple people off here, or leave some sort of comment either on the portal indicating how this analysis is indeed supporting your understanding and of the markets here. Okay, all right, let's go ahead now and take a look at the equity markets here and see what context we can drive from them. Again, we're going to go ahead and start with a daily chart. Again, we see that we are in some sort of kind of a range kind of price action. Not the easiest markets here, guys. I'm going to have to admit here that we're in at the moment. Lot in the way of overlapping price action here at the moment. Seeing maybe something in the way. Again, I feel like maybe this kind of move that we're seeing right now is more corrective, right, than initiative, right? Rate range kind of price action, right? It's not very impulsive. This is impulsive, right? We got an impulsive move to the downside, okay? But this here, not impulsive. This seems to be corrective, okay? If it's corrective, then the view is that at some point it's going to resume. It's going to resume this leg here to the downside. Just seems like it needs the catalyst to make that happen, okay? Right now, it seems to be in some sort of balance, some sort of corrective pattern on the daily chart. Looking at the 4 hour, Looking at the 4-hour chart, we're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance here, just kind of taking a peek here. So there's that consolidation range that we were talking about. We have not been able to get above 25,400 of late and have not been able to get below 24,400 on the downside. We've just been stuck between that area, 25,400 on the upside, 24,400 on the downside. We've been in this range now for the last since the start of the week. Okay, have not been able. Now are these ranges tradable? Absolutely. But what we need to focus in on is not on the middles, not in the middles of these ranges, but on the extremes, right? We need to be patient enough to wait for price to get to this 25,400 level and maybe consider fading that. Once price reaches 24,400, okay, and looking at that level and potentially fading that, okay? We want to definitely stay away from the middle of the market here, okay? I see that price is below my 200 EMA, okay? So price has not been able to get above that level. So giving me indication that maybe we are in store for another potential leg to the downside in this market, okay? All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the 30-minute chart. Looking at the 30-minute chart, again, you can see the sort of the heaviness that this market is giving on the upside. Look at these tops here, right? These tops lack momentum to the upside, right? They are laboring to try to get higher, trying to get higher, trying to get higher. Okay. So again, the based on what I'm seeing here, there seems to be a fair amount of pressure, okay, to the downside in this market. Again, this area here, I'm going to identify as a resistance zone, right? Anywhere between that 25,000, I said 400 should be 25,300, right? 25,300 to maybe 25,150. That seems to be a sell zone, right? This area here seems to be a sell zone in the market. We see price below VWAP, below our 9, below our 20, below our 50. Okay. The only thing that is supportive right now is our 200 and our 100 moving average. Now, if I'm a buyer, okay, if I'm a buyer of this market, then I need to wait for price to reach this level down below, because that's where our 200 and our 100 is. Okay. I don't want to be a part of this. It's not enough for me to expect price to hold. Okay. I need to look at much stronger level. And I would say that the stronger level is a bit below. So this area down below here, right around this area, I would say offers me a location where I can potentially participate to the long side. But I have to be patient to wait for that, right? Because I see structure that indicates that bulls are here. I see that we have a moving average. I see the 100 moving average. I see the 200 moving average here. Okay. So that's a logical location for potential buyers to potentially step back into this market. All right. Taking a look at the DMI. Well, the DMI is telling me that there's a fair amount of selling pressure in this market at the moment. Our negative DI is above our positive, right? Indicating that there is a fair amount of selling underway at the moment. Okay. Our volume delta is giving us an indication that maybe buyers have kind of introduced themselves here at the lows. Okay. The question, do they have the participation to be able to drive price higher? Okay. So it would not surprise me in the least if we took a peek below, right? Peek below like this, and then maybe rally. Okay. That's certainly possible. All right. Let's take a look now. I want to take a look at the initial balance ranges across the various sessions. We'll start off with the Asia market again and see what Asia was able to do with this market. So Asia, okay, again, was to the downside. So we have fair number of sellers here, right? Fair number of sellers here in this market. We rallied back to, again, happens time and time again. We rally back to the initial balance low, and what do we find? The same set of participants that drove price away from the initial balance range, right? We come up to that same level. What do we find? We find sellers. So I would say that there's a fair number of sellers in this market. Okay. Taking a look at the initial balance range for London. Taking a look at London, see what London was able to do with this market. London was initially bullish, okay, but was not able to hold above, okay, until price came back inside the initial balance range. And now we've rotated all the way to the other side of the range. Now the question becomes, is this area going to be able to hold? Do the sellers have the participation to continue to drive price higher? If I'm a seller, if I'm interested on the sell side, I don't necessarily want to be a seller at a level where I see demand. If I'm going to sell, I'm going to be a seller. I want to be in an area where I see maybe sell a little bit of strength, maybe back to the 9 EMA, maybe back to the VWAP. That would be kind of the location that I would want to be a part of to maybe look for an opportunity to the downside. Not at the lows of the day. Okay, that's not where I want to be, right? To maybe participate to the sell side. If it leaves without me, it leaves without me. Right? But I'm not going to sell into an area of demand. If I'm going to be a seller, I'm going to let the market maybe make a little bit of a retracement in this case to the upside, and maybe I can find some opportunities here up at these highs here, right? 25,000, 25,080 seems to be kind of a logical area for me to entertain a short, okay? Otherwise, I have to kind of entertain maybe locations where maybe I can look for opportunity to buy. Okay. And this location for me is down at this 24,840 level. That seems to be kind of more of a logical location for that. Okay. All right. So headed into the session, I would say that my view, my sentiment on the NAS is neutral to bearish. Okay. We're seeing evidence of bearish kind of price action in a larger kind of initial balance, in a larger kind of range area. Okay. If we do break below 25,000 and hold, I think there's a possibility that we get down to the 100 and the 200 EMA down at 24,800. Okay. It's certainly possible. Okay. All right. Let's, with that said, let's go ahead now and take a look at the last couple of markets, ES and the Dow. So start off with the daily chart. Daily chart also giving us kind of some barcoding kind of price action of late. Very kind of a lot of topping patterns here, guys. A lot of tops here, right? Again, this is right. How many times have we topped here? Right? Market is struggling to get higher, right? This is an indication that market is struggling to get higher. Okay. So what do we focus? I think again, daily is that we are in some sort of range. I would say I would probably lean maybe a bit to the bearish side, because these rallies that we're making on the bullish side are very short-lived, right? Every rally we've had has been met with selling, okay, on the ES. We're seeing the DMI also giving us indication that there's a fair amount of selling pressure in this market. We look at the volume delta. We see more sell market orders than buy market orders, okay? A lot of indication that there is, again, some selling pressure that is coming into this market. All right, taking a look at the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart. Let's go ahead and turn off initial balance here for a moment. Okay. So what is price doing? Well, you can see, right? Price is below our 200, below our 100, below our 50, and working its way below our 20 and potentially our 9. Okay. So 20 right now is what's holding this up here a little bit. Okay. And we're below our VWAP. Okay. Now, what's interesting is that rather than seeing a spike in my DMI to the upside, it's kind of wavering. It's kind of losing a little bit of steam, both on the bullish and the bearish side, which is kind of interesting. I see my volume delta bar is to the downside, and I'm looking at price and I'm saying, they're being quite successful on the volume that's coming in to the sell side here at the moment, right? Okay, so that seems to be aligned. Volume delta is aligned with the general direction of the market. Okay, so that's positive if I'm thinking that I'm bearish. And what are we developing on the 4-hour? We're developing a pretty strong bearish candle here at the moment. Okay, so we've already identified some areas here of support right around this 67.80, 67.75 level, right around that 6,800 level. That seems to be an area of support. And then just above us, right around 69.20, does appear to be an area of some resistance in this market. Taking a look at the 30-minute chart, again, you can see that we are, a lot of patterns here indicating that there are sellers present here. Okay, right? A lot of patterns here indicating that the presence of sellers. We see our series of candles here. We see a series of candles again to the bearish side. Price is below a lot of the moving averages that we care about. Okay, including working its way below the 200. Okay, so if price if the 30-minute chart breaks below, right, we are coming into an area of demand. Okay, this is an area that has been supportive in the past, right around this 6,800 level. Okay, 6820. We had a nice little push to the upside, but they did not have the participants to continue to drive price higher. As a result, we see that selling pressure has come in. We see that our volume delta is also generally aligned with the general direction that we have. So I would have to say that it seems that we are in some sort of bearish structure here at the moment in the ES. Okay, I'm going to take a peek here at Asia, see what Asia was able to do as this market. Asia was able to drive price lower. Okay, so a lot of market participants on the Asia side they're not necessarily aligned with the bullish direction here at the moment. They're quite bearish. And then London also, I believe, also looking a bit bearish, now peeking its head below the low end of the initial balance range. So a lot of bearish activity going on right now in the ES. If I'm a buyer, well, I need to see if it manages to hold this level here around 6,800, 6,820. If not, then I think we make a visit down to 6,880. Okay, that's the last location I see where I see any evidence of buying. But right now, I'm in bearish structure. And as long as I'm in bearish structure, as long as I see price below my 9, below my VWAP, my view on the ES is bearish. Okay, headed into the session. All right, let's look at the last market before we kind of summarize our view across all the sessions. Okay, we'll start to take a look here at the Dow. Okay, the Dow also giving us maybe even a stronger indication, okay, of maybe some more downside pressure here, right? We've broken some levels to the downside, and we are again developing a rather strong bearish candle here to the downside with volume. Okay, so again, if I'm just looking at these set of candles, what we are staircasing, right, to the downside, right, here to here, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing, right? We're developing some structure indicating that there's maybe some more downside to this market. All right, taking a look at the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart. Let's go ahead and turn off the initial balance range here for a moment. Okay, and let's take a look here. All right, so again, price is below a lot of our moving averages that we care about, right? We're below the 200, below the 100, below the 50, below the 20, below the 9. I think you get the picture, guys. We are in some sort of bearish structure here. Okay, we are developing a bearish engulfing candle to the downside. We have an area here. This is the point of control right around 48,870, 49,000. That does seem to be a resistance zone, right? So this area right here does appear to be an area of resistance. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it in that way. Okay. So if price cannot get above 49,000, I have no business in participating in this market to the bullish side. I need to continue to look for opportunities to the bearish side. So let's take one peek here at what the Asia and London were able to do with these markets. Just going to confirm. Okay, Asia was also appears to be. Let's see, where is it? Where's my initial balance range? Oh, let's actually move to the 30-minute chart here before we do that. Okay. Let's make sure I got the right range. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, same thing we had on the other equity markets. We have a market that a fair number of sellers here. Where did the price come back to? It came back to that same range. And what did they find? more sellers. Okay. A lot of sellers in Asia. Taking a look at London. Also found some sellers in London, right? We peaked above and created a failed auction, and now we're again in sell zone. Looking at the DMI, you can see a good amount of selling pressure at the moment in this market, right? Good amount of selling pressure in this market. Our ADX up above 30. A good amount of strength in this move to the downside. Take a look at the volume delta. Volume delta is aligned with the general volume, right? All our volume is to the downside. Okay. We had some attempts here to kind of drive price higher, absorbed by sellers. Okay. Continue to see some bearish price action. So I would say across all the equities right now, I would say that we are in some sort of bearish structure. Okay. Including the Dow, right? So I'm going to give a bearish rating on the Dow as well. All right. So let's take one final pass here across all the markets. And again, seeing some indication of some bearish kind of price action here in the gold market, right? Price is below our initial balance range for London. We had a good amount of volume that stepped in here to the downside. So I'm going to go with more of a bearish kind of tone on the gold as well. So bearish on the gold. Oops. I would say bearish on the silver. Okay. Although I do see some areas here that could be supportive down below around 81. I would say that I would say bearish on the silver. I think really the only market that I'm willing to give a bullish rating on is the crude oil. Okay. Crude oil is the only market that I would be bullish on. Okay. We're seeing price break above the initial balance range for London. Let's go ahead and see now that the market is open here. Let's open up the regular trading day and see what kind of initial balance range. Okay, that's been established here. So it looks like we've kind of booked the lows first. Okay, so kind of indicating that maybe the sentiment should be to the upside in this market. Okay, yeah. So bullish on the crude oil. And then I would say across all the equities, I'm seeing a little bit in the way of some bearish kind of price action. Okay. So bearish in the NASDAQ, bearish on the ES, bearish on the Dow, all the way across the board. Okay. So a lot of bears in the market today, guys. A lot of bearish kind of price action I'm seeing, a lot of bearish structure I'm seeing outside of crude oil. Crude oil is the only market that I'm seeing some bullish price structure. Okay. So I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions. I see that we are pretty much on par here with the likes. Okay. So thank you for that. Okay. If you have not already, then I would encourage you to hit the like button. If you have not left a comment in the recent past on the portal, I would encourage you to do that. I think that's pretty much it, guys. So if there are no other questions, we're just going to go ahead and leave you to the markets. Okay. I'm going to leave you to the markets here. You're welcome. Okay. I'm going to leave you to the markets as we close this session. Trade well, trade safe, trade like a pro, be a market trader. Have an excellent day trading, guys, and we'll talk again tomorrow.